With us now is Mike Manning. Welcome, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
So we have a mutual friend in common, Marcos
Mhm.
Papadatos. And Marcos has to be like a huge fan of yours. He wrote this nice, big, beautiful article. And I want to thank him for putting us in contact with one another.
Yeah, Marcos is fantastic. We've gotten to know each other over the years. I met him through the Bay because he's friendly with a lot of the other cast members, and then he's covered the Bay. He's covered my stint on Days of Our Lives. He's covered horror films that I produced. So he's always been a big fan, and I'm really grateful for him.
When Gregory Martin talked to you about the storyline for the Bay, which was going to include a same sex marriage, what were your initial thoughts about that particular character and the journey for that character?
So I joined the Bay in season 5 as sort of a guest star, and then season 6 as a recurring, and then now I'm a series regular in season 7. We just finished the first half of season 7 in Puerto Rico, so I'm really excited for that. In season 6, you really see these characters go from being best friends to living together to then getting married, all in the course of one season. And what I appreciate about the storyline is that Gregory and Wendy, the other writer, they really took what was happening in the world with COVID and with Black Lives Matter and with other things that were happening, and they applied it to the story. With the same-sex marriage storyline, I was really proud to be a part of that. I said I got an Emmy for the show and I think it was that storyline was a big part of that, because when you're given good material, it just makes it easier to be that character. And I said in my Emmy speech that at the end of the day, if there's one young person watching that show, that's maybe confused about themselves or worried that if they're not straight, that they are not going to find that same type of love and commitment. If being on the show and being part of that storyline helps them realize that they're just as deserving and capable of that same type of love, then the whole season for me was worth it.
I am a huge proponent of love is love. I always have been, because I just feel that, it doesn't really matter how we identify ourselves in any way, whether it's our gender, whether it's our sexuality. I'm a no label kind of girl, right? Sometimes I don't
Yeah.
even, I grew up in a generation where labels on clothing just kind of started. Okay. So, yeah. Do you know what I'm
You're,
saying? Like,
like, yeah.
whether you're going to have this kind of a shoe or that kind of a shoe or this or that or whatever. And I was never really like that, so much to the point where somebody will be like, "Oh, what are you wearing?" And I'm like, "I don't really know.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not
No,
sure."
that's
But
the way to be. I think in our lives, I think sexuality is a spectrum, and I think that who you're around, who you meet, where you are in your life, sort of pulls you one way, one side or the other. But I don't think the Kinsey scale talked about how I think it's something like 10% of people are straight, 10% of people are gay. Everybody else is somewhere in the middle, and
somewhere in the
the
middle.
sooner we realize that, the happier we'll all be.
I want to applaud you also for all the things that you've done in your journey thus far. Because you started out. Let's talk about the journey of how you started out. Where were you, Mike, when you decided, you know what, I want to be an actor? How were you discovered?
Yeah. So I grew up doing theater in Colorado. I've always loved acting, but I didn't really know that I could make a living being an actor. It just wasn't in my universe. I didn't know professional actors. So I always knew I loved it. And then I went to college and I was going to school for business. And a friend of mine asked me he said, "Hey, we're in the library studying for a finance test." And he said, "Hey, Mike, you used to audition for stuff, right?" Yeah. And he said, "Can you come with me to an open casting call for Real World to help me get on the show?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And then I ended up being on the show.
Okay, now I have to ask you an important question. You know what my follow-up question to that's going to be, right? Are you still friends with that
Are we
guy?
still friends? Yeah, yeah. So he actually came to visit me when I was living in Washington, D.C. So in theory, I did what I said I was going to do. I got him on the show. But the nice thing about living in D.C. was I think I was 21 years old at the time, going through some important life moments, and I think had the season taken place in Cancun or somewhere else, Vegas, it would have been a very different experience for me. But because it was Washington D.C., I took all of that confusion and frustration and I applied it to where I was living, and I ended up throughout the course of the season, I went from not really being interested in politics to by the end of the season, I was lobbying members of Congress, senators, and talking about repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, passing employment non-discrimination, talking about equal rights. So it really, really ignited my passions as an activist being on the show.
And you're also hugely against bullying. You do a lot to fight bullying, and I think clean water, also clean thirst. Tell me about that, because I know clean water is important for you as well.
Yeah. So I'm an ambassador for an organization called Buddha Bullying, and our focus is to create positive content to send out into the world. Also, toolkits for students, for teachers, for parents, for kids that are being bullied or areas that are experiencing bullying, to sort of help curb that. And then the Thirst Project is my best friend Seth Maxwell started the organization, I think 11 years ago. And I've just seen it grow and grow and grow. And now they are the largest youth-focused clean water organization in the world. And what they do is they build wells for communities in Africa and other places that don't have access to safe, clean drinking water. And the thing that I love about providing clean water is it helps communities in so many other areas. It helps them with education. It helps them with safety. It helps them with medicine, sanitation. It helps them just the society economically, the society thrive just by getting, what most of us take for granted of clean water. So it's really important to me.
And being a cast member on the Bay, is there an opportunity for you to do another role? Does Gregory make your schedule so that all of a sudden, if a little film role came up or something, you'd be able to do a day gig?
Yeah, no, that's the nice thing about the Bay is they work very quickly. So I had just finished filming for 7 months on Days of Our Lives. And then I shot the Bay first, and then I did Days. And now I'm going back to finish the season of the Bay. And then in the middle there, I shot another movie. So they're really flexible, and they really work with my, other things I have going on.
Well, continued success to you, Mike. And thank you very, very much for joining us today.
Donna, thank you so much for having me. And congratulations on almost 9,000 interviews. That's insane.
But you know which one is my favorite?
Mine,
because we just completed it. So celebrating us. So thank you so much, Mike. Happy journeys to you. Be well. Bye, my friend. Bye-bye.